Welcome into another edition of The Session with Londa and David. My name's David Austin, and sitting across from me, as always, is my beautiful bride, Londa Joanne Sherwood Austin. And you're wearing a jean jacket that's black today. I got news for you. You're hot all the time.
Oh,
you talk about being chilly. No,
I'm
ma'am.
not cold all the
You're
time.
You're hot all the time.
Well, thank you very much.
The Session with Londa and David is a business-focused program that's here to help you grow your business and get better at what you do. And The Session's brought to you each and every week by Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. If you're looking to grow your income and success, Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants can help you find your sweet spot. Whether you're hoping to increase sales, grow your team, or just get your bottom line back in shape, Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants can help. 509-491-2663 is the number to call and speak with Londa at Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. 509-491-2663. With over 40 years of combined sales training, coaching, and management success, Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants is the right team to call. The number one last time, 509-491-2663. It's a great time to be in business. Why not be in business with us?
Nice.
I like it. I think that's fun copy. I enjoy doing that.
I think that's great copy.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's a big market radio read right there. I'm super excited about this show because, believe it or not, this is episode 50 of the program. We should have waited till June 10th to do it on my 50th birthday.
Oh.
But we can't slow the wheels of progress.
50 on 50.
That's exactly right, 50 on 50.
Dang.
But we've got to keep moving forward, chugging.
Yeah.
Because we want to help you with your business. And if we don't do a show, it's like we used to say on News Radio KPEL when I was a kid. If you miss a day, you miss a lot. And that's how I feel about our show. If you miss our show, you're missing some good content.
Yeah, I think we try to give away a ton of content. And even though, people pay us for content, they pay us for consulting, they pay us for coaching. I want to give away a ton of content because I just think it's the right thing to do. I love helping people, personally and professionally grow. I love helping people. What I really love helping people work smarter, not necessarily harder.
Sure.
If they want to work harder, great. I can help you do that.
Yes.
I can also help you work a lot smarter so that you have more freedom of time, money, fun, peace, whatever it is that you're seeking right now.
Right.
So, yeah. Love it.
I want to talk about a dinner we went to recently with a childhood friend of mine and her husband in Lafayette, Louisiana. We went out to dinner, and I got to tell you, it is fun to be around successful salespeople.
Yes.
And her husband, his name's Rowdy Raynaud, he is a big equipment salesperson.
Yeah.
And he's sold cars. He's helped people find boats. I mean, this guy sold everything. And it was so fun to watch him and talk to him because he does all the right stuff as a salesperson.
Yeah.
People walked by in the restaurant. He engaged them. He said hi. He talked to people about who he is and what he does.
Here's what it all comes down to.
Yes.
Is making people feel seen and heard. I see you. I hear you.
Right.
You're important. Ultimately, that's what it's about. Is there, a skill set to be acquired and honed? Yeah, there's a lot of soft skills that are really important that you learn, right? And we teach those, and we actually share a lot of them on the podcast. And are there some, you have to learn how to overcome objections, or you have to learn how to, make a good pitch, and you have to learn how to close, and you have to learn how to ask for the sale, and you have to do all those things. Ultimately, I heard this years ago, you can do everything wrong with the right heart, and often it'll still turn out just right.
I gotcha.
Because if you're just making the person across from you the person in the audience, the person, because when I'm speaking, I speak to a group, right? Not just one person. You make them feel seen, make them feel heard.
Right.
We're all so much more similar than we are different.
That's absolutely true.
As a human race.
Yes.
That, but we focus so much, and media focuses so much on our differences and everything that's wrong with everybody.
Well, and a lot of people do that internally.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And it's a trick. It's a trap.
Yeah.
Don't do it. We're humankind has so many things in common.
Right.
And we often talk about just be kind.
Right.
Be kind, be considerate, care about the human that you're talking to.
Sure.
So I think that's one thing that he does really well. You were talking about he was engaging people at the restaurant, but it's because, hey, I see you.
Right. That's
and I'm
right.
going to make sure I see you.
Right. I got to tell you, kindness works. And it's fun to be hanging out with people who are not in my line of work, because who knew equipment sales would be such a fascinating thing to talk about with an expert salesperson in that arena? Yeah. What a fun treat that was.
Yeah, it was really fun conversation.
And we'll go out with them a lot more in the future. And who knows?
Yeah. And maybe go on a cruise. We don't know.
We don't know.
The
Alaska cruise is pretty cool. Well, it's a pretty cool cruise.
It's cold.
It's chilly, but you're hot, so I don't know why you'd be chilly.
Ha 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 ha.
It's true with your little denim jacket. I don't even understand it.
Nobody cares.
Okay, this is episode 50 of the session with Londa and David, and we've been doing this for slightly more than a year now, but we've taken some breaks and we've done some special editions, so that's why it's number 50, but what a cool benchmark to cross. Yeah. What a cool deal.
I love it. It's so much fun, and, for me personally, the numbers don't matter to me.
Right.
I'm not tied to the outcome of this. I'm putting content that I'm excited about out there. And I know for a fact it's helping people. And I'm good. And we don't do any advertising.
Right.
None. We share it on our Facebook pages, and sometimes I remember to put it on other
I put it on LinkedIn last week.
Which people should connect with you on LinkedIn on your new profile.
That's because right. I've got like 60 of them over the years. LinkedIn's not new today, but my current updated account is new. So if you got a new LinkedIn invitation from me in the last 3 weeks, it's real. It's legit.
Yeah.
Same guy, a little older looking.
A little more gray, a little grizzled.
This week's edition of the session is also brought to you by Tiny Diet Soda. Tiny Diet Soda is little, and it's tiny, and it's diet soda. Tiny Diet Soda. It's fun at home, like home coffee.
I can't drink a whole soda. I can't even hardly drink one of these.
Yeah, what is this, 6 ounces? 7.5 ounces. Wow, I really undersold the tiny soda.
Wow.
7.5 ounces. I know we're not supposed to have the soda because it's got, sugar substitutes in it.
It is. It's terrible for us and cancer causing and all that stuff. But it messes up your insulin and it does all kinds of crazy things.
I don't know that you can say out loud that this soda is cancer causing. It's not. This soda is not cancer causing, or it would be pulled off the shelves. Now, overexposure to whatever sweeteners are in here may be cancer causing, but
Fine.
The soda, we don't want the Diet Dr. Pepper conglomeration to come get us and own the show, the session with Londa and David, because you're besmirching their reputation.
I don't think anybody's really, looking out for that from us.
That's funny.
What content do you have to give the people today, sir?
Well, here's the thing that I want to talk about. You just did a keynote speech for a real estate company in Spokane, Washington, and I think I'm your biggest fan, so watching you,
as it should be,
watching you do a keynote address is really fun for me, and I might have strange feelings during those events. But the moral of the story is you are an awesome speaker, and I just want to talk a little bit about what goes into one of your keynote speeches, because and I don't want you to give away all the content, but
weeks and hours and hours and hours is what goes into it.
Sure, it's really cool to me to see how you can relay information and have a transformational effect on the audience. That's really cool.
That's the whole goal. I want to take them on a journey with me from here to here.
Right.
Come along, children. Let's go.
Yes.
You know?
It's cool stuff. And the marketing you did leading up to it was really slick, even though it was a private thing. It wasn't for public mass consumption. But you do these now, and I think it's just the coolest thing.
I love it. I love talking to leadership teams, sales teams, and people who run things. Right. If you run a business, you run a sales team, you run a home, you run a school, those are the people that are my people. Sure. You know?
And it's fun to talk in public. That's different, though, than your coaching that you do one-on-one. How's it different, and how does it work differently?
Well, coaching is more client-led and question-based. So the knowing the right questions to ask someone to have them self-discover most of the answers that they're looking for is a very unique skill set.
Okay.
So I would say this, if you have a professional coach in your business that you're paying money to, and when you meet with them, they're telling you what to do.
Sure.
Telling you, do this, do this, do this, do this.
Right.
That's very different than what a coach should be.
Okay.
A good coach they know the right questions to ask.
Right.
And the reason why is because we don't know for sure where we're going.
Right.
I don't know for sure what your answers are. When I'm consulting, it's a little different than coaching. Right?
Okay.
Consulting, I can look at something and I can see the answers.
Okay.
Coaching, I'm not exactly sure where this is going to go, but as we go through the journey, I know the right questions to ask and when to ask them and how to ask them so that the client can come to a lot of their own self-discovery. And the reason that's important is they own it then.
Right.
If they figure out their problem, they solved their problem, they came to the answer, then there's ownership over that.
Sure.
And they realize I had it in me all along.
Right.
I just needed the right person to kind of pull it out. And if you think of it in terms of sports, it's a little easier to think about, right? Because you've got a coach of, it's March Madness time right now.
Right.
You've got coaches on those teams and there's different coaches for different parts of the team. And then there's a head coach, right? And they're pulling out the best. They can look at that player and pull out the best in that player.
Right.
They put them in the right position. They put them here. They try this. They try that. Tweak this. How about we do that? And if you think of it in those kind of terms, then it's a little easier. That's different than when I speak to a group of people and I know what I'm good at the journeys I'm good at taking people on.
Sure.
Right? So when I speak to a group, they don't tell me, oh, well, we need someone to speak about this or that. Right? I go, hey, this is what I'm really good at.
Right.
Does that work for you or not?
I gotcha.
And if they hire me, then yeah, it did work for them because I know the journey I'm great at taking people along on.
Sure.
And so I don't ever want them to get on my bus and I don't have a map. You know what I'm saying?
I gotcha. Yeah.
So taking them on that journey from this spot to this spot might be like a team where you're taking them from, their rookie season to their championship.
Right.
But it just looks a little bit different where I'm delivering information. Still interactive because I just love interacting with a group.
And I think that's more engaging than just giving a speech and not interacting.
So, and it depends on the size of the group, right? When you get over a certain size group, you got to really change how you interact. You can't just put a question out there. You can say, how many of you blah, 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 a show of hands.
Right.
But you can't ask somebody to give you feedback in a, if you've got 20 or 30 people, you can do that. But once you get, if you've got a room of 100 people, you don't want somebody talking to you.
It's like a heckler in a stand-up comedy show.
Yeah. Well, and as a speaker, you better know how to handle that. And I do.
Yeah.
And I have.
Right.
And, it's a good time. You kind of, listen, you heckle me and I'm engaging you. Let's go.
It reminds me of when I auditioned to be a tour guide at Disney MGM Studios in 1989, the summer of 1989, because when I auditioned for that position, I was in a room full of goofballs just like me who had just auditioned for that group. And different than the people that preceded me, I found out later, because it was for a tour guide job. I talked to the whole group. I didn't just talk to the 6 people sitting at the head table on the stage. I turned, so I talked to everybody. And those jerks heckled me.
Yeah.
I asked the question, hey, has anybody in here seen the new Superboy TV show? And I got like 8 people at once go, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But no, but you
have to keep going. You gotta know how to work through it. And I think my response, which was just off the cuff, might have been, I don't think you've seen the show. Let me tell you something about it.
Right, there you go.
And what could they say to that, right?
You roll with it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So, that is something that you only get by standing up in front of a group of people and giving some kind of speech or presentation.
Mm-hmm. So my style of speaking is, creative, raw, honest, storytelling,
right?
Woven into really great points, points of action, points of moments of kind of aha, and tweetable quotes. That people can take away, and they are going to come away being able to implement the things immediately.
Right.
I love breaking difficult concepts into really simple, easy to understand, actionable kind of things that you can walk out the door and put into use immediately. And I love, getting people, taking them from frustrated to clarity.
Right.
Right. Taking them on a journey from feeling defeated to feeling confident.
Right.
Those kind of things are really important to me when talking to people. And then if the group is the right size, and what I mean is small enough, then I love doing a live Q&A. Right. Because that's the magic. Because it's almost like I get to do some live coaching right at the end.
I gotcha.
So I love doing that. If it's a bigger group, I have them submit questions ahead of time to my email. And then if it's a smaller group, then, we'll do it live right there. But that's really where the meat and potatoes. I love that because it's on the spot. I have to be right there.
Now, when you get those questions, because I love doing things live. I love the authenticity of not knowing what the topic is going to be. Right. When I would fill in for Jim Angster's show on the Louisiana Network called Louisiana Live years ago, I wouldn't really know who the guest was or what the topic was more than 15 minutes before I went and sat down on the air, right? Because he had a producer and the producer booked the show and you know what I mean? So I love the authenticity of no previous information. I think you do too in a small group with the live Q&A because you're solving problems in real time. When you get them ahead of time, do you look at them ahead of time?
I might read through them just to determine if one of them needs data behind it, because I am kind of a nerd that way. In fact, today I did a market analysis for a home that I'm going to be listing soon in Washington State, and the homeowner said to me, I said, what are you hoping to list the house for? And he said, I have no idea, just market value. Do you have comps? I said, yeah, I ran the numbers like 8 different ways because I don't trust just one source.
Sure.
Right. So I do. And it was 8. I looked back and and looked at what I had done. And I did. I ran comps and ran numbers, but 8 different ways. So I do love to lean into the data.
Right.
So it depends on the question.
I gotcha.
You know, a lot of them in what I do, a lot of the questions don't require a lot of research or data, or, you know, it's things like people keep telling me no, that they have to talk to their spouse.
Right.
Right. And
Yes.
I'm like, okay. So now we talk about, and you might think, oh, well, then I teach them how to overcome that objection.
Sure.
No. I ask them questions till they figure out why they're getting that objection.
I gotcha.
They're almost provoking it.
Okay. That's an easy objection, that particular one.
Yeah.
So,
and there's ways to overcome
well,
it.
the best way is to meet with the 2 decision makers.
Sure. You back up and in your intake interview,
Right.
make sure you're meeting with all the decision makers.
That's right.
But if you're getting one consistent objection, like every freaking time I meet with people, I get this same objection. It's probably you.
Okay.
For instance,
Yes.
I can't even tell you the number of people that have gotten the objection that whatever it is too expensive.
Okay.
If you ask enough questions and the right questions of those people, almost every time you'll discover the salesperson themselves feels like it's too expensive.
Yes. And we've talked about that on previous shows.
And that's why they're getting that objection.
Yes. And they're selling the cost. They're saying things like, oh, I can't believe this market.
Right.
You should never say that ever.
They're selling the problem.
Right.
Not the solution.
That's right.
So then in that, I don't need to teach them a script for overcoming that objection. I need to talk with them about their mindset.
Right.
On the value.
Yes.
So do you see how you never know exactly where you're going?
It's
and
very
you have
interesting.
To really, it is a coaching and consulting both are very intricate puzzles.
Right.
And you never have the box top.
I gotcha.
And I love it because I love people and I love the way their brains work. And studying the science of the brain and how it works and how everything around us from our formative years forward, how all of that affects us and all the filters that we see life through. I'm fascinated by that and study it for fun in my off time. Okay. All right. Laugh at me if you will.
Study it for fun. You do.
I
you
do.
You love it.
And it only has helped me be better with people.
Yeah. And you know what? I appreciate you saying that. You're great with people. You would have been great with people if you hadn't chosen the paths you've taken in your life. You're a curious, interested person, and that makes you a good people person. Now,
I love people.
Yeah, and I know it's a little harder for you because of the way you process all the information to do that in just a regular conversation, because you've got to really focus to shut down some of the noise in the world when you're talking to somebody.
Well, it's interesting. When we're in a social setting, it's very difficult for me to focus right here.
Yes.
And be fully present, because I am processing the lights and the sounds and the colors and the textures and everything around me all the time.
Right.
What's interesting is when I'm speaking, like doing a keynote or a training, laser focused.
That's interesting that you say that. And I think it's your performance-based mentality.
Yeah.
You are most comfortable on stage.
Yeah.
And if you're
for sure.
most comfortable on stage, that's where everything else stops making noise.
Yes.
You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
And when I'm with a coaching client, because I do a lot of coaching either by phone or FaceTime, when I'm on with a client, the whole world goes away.
Yeah.
It's just really interesting.
Yeah. You know, in interpersonal communication, for me, everything else shuts off, because to me, the person in front of me is the most important thing on the planet at that moment. And I don't know why I think that way. It may be because of how I communicated as a kid growing up with my parents. It could be with how they communicated with me. I don't know. But it's very interesting for me in a social setting, the world can be on fire, but if I'm in front of somebody, I don't notice it.
I don't think that it's because I find them less interesting. I think it's because I think I'm a little ADHD, and it's just there's so much input.
Yeah.
And coaching and speaking is something that I could do blindfolded.
Right.
I think that's the difference is when I'm in a social setting, I'm concentrating so hard that it's work.
Right. That's neat.
Yeah.
That's really, really neat.
Anyway, I love it. And I love watching the light bulbs come on. I think it's why I homeschooled.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because they're like a little audience.
Right.
They're like short little audience members.
Tiny audience members. Sometimes they fall over for no reason at all.
Yeah. But seeing the light bulb come on when you're teaching, we were just talking about this to a group of teachers, actually. Seeing the light bulb come on when teaching a child to read has to be one of the most rewarding things in the world because it opens the whole world up to them.
It does.
And seeing the light bulb come on, when they're able to recognize something they didn't used to recognize, oh, that's great. And I get the same kind of, reward or satisfaction.
Sure.
From seeing an audience of people, those light bulb moments, or hearing later, wow, that, it was this one statement that changed everything for me.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Toward the end of the show, always refer to a listener question. So I want to get to that now, just in case it sparks more conversation.
Okay. I've got a couple of them.
Okay.
Let's start with this one.
Okay.
How do I find employees that work just like me? And this came from someone who's self-employed, and this is a very common story. They're self-employed. They do everything. They do every aspect of the business.
Yes.
In order to grow the business, they're going to have to hire somebody.
Okay.
Right? Every time they try to hire somebody, they don't do the job as well. And they get customer complaints, and they end up having to let the person go.
Yes.
So how do you find employees that will work just as hard as you will? I have an answer, but what's yours? My
answer is you can't. That's not a real thing. You might get lucky and find someone who mimics you. You know what I mean? Who wants to be just like you. When I was a young radio kid, Ray Sutley hired me at News Radio KPEL to be Little Ray. He hired me to have a protege and help me grow in the business. Those kind of jobs don't really exist anymore because of the cost of labor now being so much higher. But I couldn't have been in a cooler position starting my radio career now 30 years ago because I had a guy who was interested in grooming me to be the next generation of radio professional. You know what I mean? So in that case, he had dumb luck with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He found someone who wanted to be him.
Right.
Lucky guy. That's not a typical situation, though.
Right.
If you expect your employees to have the same level of interest and buy-in that you as a business owner have, that's not going to work. So, do you temper your expectations? Or do you train differently? I don't know. What's your answer?
My answer is along the same lines. If you're the owner of the company and you're frustrated because your employees don't care about the company as much as you do, the answer is they are never going to.
Right.
It's not their company.
Right.
You can't expect them to. Maybe if you give them a piece of the ownership, they might. Maybe. I don't know. But as an employee, the majority of people, another question she asked is, and then you have if I do find somebody and I train them in the way that I do things, I'm just giving away my system and they're going to go start their own thing.
Right.
So I would say rest easy. Most people don't want to run their own thing.
Right. That's true.
The majority of people are very happy to clock in, do their work, clock out, and go have a life.
And not have to worry about insurance for the business, and not have to worry about health care, and not have to. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Cost of goods.
Yeah.
And where, if it's like a restaurant, your supplier, well, any business, but my head goes to restaurant because I grew up in restaurants, your supplier and supply chain issues and all of those things. Most people don't want that headache. When you own a business, you're in it 24/7.
Right. Yes.
You just are. That's the reality.
And being a business person.
You don't take vacations. You don't get time off. You don't get to clock out.
Right.
You can have healthy boundaries. Don't get me wrong. Right. If you don't know how to do that, I can teach you. But you definitely can have healthy boundaries. I remember a time, I was just thinking about this yesterday. I remember getting fired for going on vacation.
By a client.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that story.
I got fired by a real estate client because I went on vacation, and here's how it went down.
Sure.
So, the day before I left for vacation, they were buyers who wanted to buy a home in Washington State, and I took them to see some properties. I brought another realtor with me. Introduced them, said, hey, I'm leaving for vacation tomorrow, as you know, because we'd already had discussion about it. And I was leaving the country. So it was kind of a bigger deal than just going someplace else in the U.S. where you're easily reached. Right. Right. There was I knew there would be a time lapse where they wouldn't be able to reach me. Nobody would for like several hours. Anyway, so I said, this is, who you're going to be working with. And they're coming along with us on these showings today, so you can kind of get to know each other. And outside of this like 5-hour window of time, I'll be available. But in that 5 hour, we've already got someone else available to this agent. Right. If there are any questions, and I don't know how else I could have handled it better. Right. Passing them off, and they fired me anyway. Right. And I'm okay with that. Okay. Because I needed a vacation. Right. So you can have boundaries for yourself. But the reality is you are the bottom line. You are where the buck stops.
That's
if
exactly
you're the
right.
owner.
That's exactly right.
So I think you either have to shift your expectations of your employees. Okay. And at the same time, have an excellent training system. And at the same time, part of that training system needs to be follow-up. Right. And checks and balances. Right. And there's more to it. Or you've got to shift the expectation and say, you know what? I'm making a good living, and, my roster is full. I can't take on any more clients, and I'm okay with that. Okay. So it's got to be one or the other. Right. But they're not going to think the same.
It's just not a thing.
Their DNA is not in the business. Yours is.
You might get lucky and find someone who wants to be your protege. You might. Someone who wants to be just like you and learn what you do and do it the way you do it. That is not an everyday experience.
And that person is going to go start their own thing.
Right. Because they want to be you.
I was in a business one time where I was telling my boss how to do things. And my boss said to me, if you're so smart, go do it yourself. Quit trying to tell me how to do things. Okay. And I did.
And you went and did it yourself.
Yeah. It wasn't too much longer before I thought, I can do this. Yeah. And I did. I went and I did it.
That's fun.
So anyway, that would be
the listener question of the week.
That's it.
Did you say you had another one? You said you had one.
Well, it was kind of related. How do I know when it's time to expand my company?
And how do you know when it's time to expand your company?
Well, when you've decided that you're not happy being capped in your growth, you're not going to be satisfied being capped in your growth. So you're ready to build a plan for growth. Yes. That's when it's time to expand. Be careful, because you've got to have really good systems in place for expansion.
Sure. A lot of realtors in the 20 years that I've been in this industry related to real estate by doing home loans, a lot of realtors have said, I want to build a team. I want to have a team of agents underneath me, and I want to grow. Only a handful of realtors have stuck with that and been successful with it. Most of the ones who've had that conversation with me are no longer doing that. They're still realtors, but they're not trying to grow a team anymore.
I had a different idea when it came to that. When I was getting busy enough to really start considering having a team. And I just had a different thought about it, which is, another thing that's unique about me. I look at things different than other people do. I thought, well, what if I just had a monthly goal for referrals closed?
Okay.
Instead of having a team, I'll cherry pick what's in my pipeline, take the clients I really, really want to work with, and the ones that maybe I'm not as excited about working with for whatever reason,
right,
I'll refer them to other realtors and get a referral fee.
Right.
What if I did that instead of building a team? It seems like a lot less work to me.
Right.
And for me, it wasn't an ego thing. And I'm not saying it is. I want to be really careful. Not everybody who builds a team, is it an ego thing?
Sure.
But I have known some.
A lot of people want to be successful, and that's the next step in their success journey.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
And for
it's
me,
not
I don't
about
care.
and often it's not about vanity, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is.
And when you refer out a client, you don't get like credit. Like say it's a listing. You don't get credit for that listing in your numbers.
But you get money for it.
That's the thing. I might not get, maybe my closed volume for the year isn't as high as somebody who has a team, because all the team's business goes under that one.
It rolls up to them.
Realtor, yeah.
Right.
But I got money in my pocket, didn't have the headache.
Right.
So it just really depends on what your personal goals are and how you can best achieve them.
And I think you have to do a cost-benefit analysis.
I like that.
How much time and effort do I have to put in to a team to actually make more money? The time and effort you have to put into a team may actually net you less money.
Right. And honestly, if you're a super social person and you work best side by side with somebody, you might want to build a team just for that, because it's that environment that gets you excited and you work the best in that environment.
It's exactly the same reason I went to Envoy Mortgage. I was tired of being lonely, and I wanted to be with people I knew and loved who wanted to have a vested interest in my success.
Right. So you were the captain of your own ship, but it was just
fun.
you.
Yeah, less fun. No good. No bueno.
Now you're partners with 3 other guys that you love, and you guys are all together in it.
And we're opening the satellite branch in Lafayette, Louisiana. The painters are fast at work. They're working. They're almost done. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Moving into the 9th floor of the Chase Tower in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Just moments away from getting started.
Very excited. And it's so fun to be able to do something that I am good at in my hometown.
Yeah.
That's a fun deal. And it doesn't hurt that when I grew up here, I grew up on the radio, so people already know my name, which is pretty exciting. I like that. I got to tell you, this last 30 some odd minutes shot by because this was episode 50 of The Session with Londa and David. My name's David Austin, and to remind you, Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants brings you this show each and every week. Call Londa today at 509-491-2663. That number again, 509-491-2663. If your business needs a boost. Londa has been doing this her entire life. She's been a licensed coach for more than 20 years. She wants to help you with your business. Call her or text her at 509-491-2663 for Sherwood Austin Growth Consultants. This has been a good show.
Yeah, and they don't just get me. I want to make sure people know that.
Well,
it's me and you.
That's true, but
it depends on how they contract.
We do this for you. We'll talk to you next week.